trying to mow the lawn for like 3 days now. It's like constantly raining. I can't mow the lawn. I got seed heads that are 3 inches high.
You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that. You know, you, Chris Stone, say my name better than anybody I know.
Dan Jourdan.
Most people just, I call it Jordan, or my wife doesn't even know how to say it. Jourdan. You just do it.
The fans of the Dan Jourdan live show, both of them, have told me that when they hear that intro, I actually say your name differently. So I say Dan Jourdan at one point, but when I introduce you, Jourdan.
That's right. Like Maurice Chevalier. I discovered something about people from Michigan, because I've been dealing with a lot of people from Michigan lately, and you are one, I know, and so that's why I'm sharing.
I'm right here,
down
here.
Here's what I know: people from Michigan love Michigan.
Oh yeah,
but people that are from Michigan and moved away from Michigan are obsessed with Michigan. It's like the greatest thing ever. Everybody I speak with goes back every year. I mean, they have to. It's like there's a calling. What is it about the Michiganders, Michiganites, Michigesians?
Michiganders.
Yes, I said Michiganders first.
Yes, you did. Yeah. You should have stopped while you were ahead.
Nobody says Michigesians.
Not until today. I think it's, you basically can throw a rock wherever you're at and hit a lake. I think that's one thing. And there is just something amazing about going, quote unquote, up north. And so up north is basically, everything. You got the mitten here. It's everything from this point up is quote unquote up north. And there's just amazing lakes and just beautiful places. And I didn't know what I had while I lived there. And when I moved to go to school in Nashville in '89, I was like, man, I couldn't wait to go back and experience all that stuff. It's just it's awesome.
Everybody's like that. They really love it. I think that's great. In New Jersey, it's funny, you go up north. New Jersey, we go down the shore. Like you don't go to the beach, you go down the shore. Yeah, it's one of those things. Look at that. You see that? A little geography right here on the Dan Jourdan live show.
You don't get that on any other shows. You really don't.
It's impressive how people get emotional, almost like even our tonality went down because we're speaking about places that we love. It's one of those weird things that in any environment that you're in, if you can create that kind of commonality with somebody, you can build emotion, and everybody knows that just emotion sells worse, more than anything. And in that same vein, I have a guest today who just a world-class type of guy in the business world. He deals with counties and governments and all sorts of type of, enterprises that people are cut and dry. Here's our budget. We don't do anything here. But even with all that, he's able to connect with them on such a humanistic way that people in government actually come to his course and then become lifelong friends that he's able to build things with. And of those events that he puts on, I too have been involved. And so I've become nobody that knows this next guy doesn't love him. And I'm sure everybody here will as soon as they meet him. So without any further ado, please help me introduce I can't even say he's a new friend, my friend, Mr. Bill Stark.
Yeah, baby. Yeah,
How you doing, my man?
Look how solid he looks with that internet. That internet is just flying.
Yeah, that's how he goes. Don't you just feel the warmth coming off this guy just from seeing him?
Good
Not
to
just
see you.
because he's in Georgia. Can you feel the warmth?
Yeah, that's it.
I
I want to talk about what you're doing now with all your with all the new things that you're doing with your book release and all that. But first, why don't you just tell the car buying public out here what exactly you guys do in the business world?
Yeah. Well, it occurred to me, government, non-government, whatever, we're all people. We put our pants on one leg at a time, obviously. And people want to be connected to, people want to be known, and people want to be heard. So if we can pause and listen and ask good questions, you're right, Dan. It doesn't matter if it's government or private sector, but yeah, LeaderGov is the name of our for-profit business. We're a training business. We train cities and counties, that's their staff, their leadership teams, in leadership skills, things like trust, things like conflict, communication, delegation, motivation, how to give feedback to your employees, things of that nature, things that help them create great teams and great productivity within a city or within a county. That's what we do. We do it all over the country, and we do it on Zoom, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, so two questions. The first question is, which leg do you put in first when you put on your pants?
Left. I'm a lefty.
Are you?
Yeah.
I've never really even thought about it.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm glad you asked me that. I needed to hear that question. Actually, I was waiting to hear that question.
Yeah. That wasn't on the list of questions that you were given before the show,
People
Bill?
always say you put your pants on one leg at a time. And so I'm a visual guy. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm a righty apparently. And so that's what I do. So
I'm 63, so it's getting harder to do it without falling over now in the morning, falling over. So
yes, I'm going to be 59 soon. I'm catching up.
Yeah.
That's what's
you
going
look like
on.
You're 33, man.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know what's with the coloring in this room. I look like I'm the palest guy around.
A little red. You look a little red.
Yeah, you have a pinkish hue.
Hue. Yeah, it's nice to have a hue. But here's the thing. So people in government, you're saying they don't have those leadership abilities. You're someone who's like a captain or a lieutenant or someone who's they don't just have like CEO roles. They have like real leadership, military type titles. Yeah. Those people don't have the leadership training that you're speaking of.
It's so interesting, and I think this is kind of old school, and a lot of society is stuck in old school. We still think it's about your technical skill. We still think it's about your technical ability to do the mechanics of the job. And so we train to that. We train to technical skills, and you can teach technical skills. You cannot teach human skills. I mean, you can teach them. It comes better if you can hire somebody that has human skills to start with. Oh my gosh, you're talking about a more productive employee, very quickly. So yeah, people hire for technical skills, and when they really should be hiring for human relational skills, and then teach the technical skills. So. Yeah, it's kind of strange.
Yeah. Well, but you managed to do that and get in there. So you work, do you work all over the country, or is it just locally? Or do
all over the country. We just had a free workshop just an hour ago. We had 150 people from all over the country join a workshop on communication, how to improve our communication as a leader. Next month, we've got a free workshop on emotional intelligence. You just showed it on the website there. So yeah, we've got customers in California, and that's Gainesville, Georgia there. Stuart, Florida, Richmond, Virginia, Brownsville, Texas, Kansas City, Kansas, Clark County, which is Las Vegas, Nevada. So it's a lot of fun. We love it. We're in the people business, and we just love it. So
do you have a particular, I'm hitting you, I'm hitting you broadside with this question that you may or may not have an answer, but maybe think about, is there like a real, I guess, a story that comes to mind when you think about a transformation, either of a person that you've been in contact with or with an entire department, or how that person permeated the whole department?
We have dozens of stories. One of the best ones that I like is a fire chief, and I won't name the county in Georgia, but let's say northern Georgia. And this is one of these guys, type A driven, D on the disc, decision maker, driver, bull in a china shop. And he thought he was a great leader. And in a way he was. But we took him through this disc training, this personality training, which is part of our program. 8 months later, he says, I had no idea how I was coming across to my team. I did not know I was taking up all the oxygen in the room. I just didn't know that I was not letting other people contribute. It just didn't dawn on me.
Yeah.
And he said, I know now. So when I come in the room now, it's not that I don't have a personality. It's that I watch for cues. I listen to people. I let them go first. I respond. I ask questions. We're like, oh my gosh, this is gold. That's exactly what we're trying to uncover in our training. Yeah.
And what are the results from that?
His morale goes up because their people feel listened to. They feel heard. They feel like they belong. They're more engaged. They're not afraid to speak up. Okay, so they give their critical feedback. They're not afraid to give new ideas to solve a problem. If you're an overbearing boss and I sort of cower, I pull back, right? I'm not going to contribute positively. I'm not going to give you my ideas. I'm not going to give you my critiques. I'm just going to sort of pull back and just do the 9 to 5 and keep my mouth shut. So what happens is productivity goes down, morale goes down, engagement goes down. I mean, it's a huge ripple effect when you have leaders who just don't know who they are or how they come across.
Wow. So with these communities that you're working with, I mean, I guess I'm always stuck on, is there really a difference between the private sector and the public sector? Like when what are there special things that you have to do in that environment that you wouldn't normally have to do, and why?
Yeah, great question. So in a city or county government, think of this, the board of directors changes every 4 years. Think of that in your business. What if your board of directors changed every 4 years? It would be chaos. Well, in a local government, the city council, they turn over every 4 or 5 years. So you have new vision, new strategy, new leadership, new ideas. It's like change. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, Milton, I'm in Alpharetta, Georgia, population 50, 60, 80,000. You got 80,000 eyeballs on you. You go to the grocery store, they're going to ask you about the garbage. Hey, what happened to my garbage? It wasn't picked up on Thursday. So you've got to have tough skin, and you've got to be able to, communicate with people who are mad when services aren't going well. So you have to have a tough skin. There is a lot of regulation. There are a lot of state mandated things, forms to fill out, all kinds of regulations from the state of Georgia or state of Rhode Island, whatever. And that makes work kind of tedious, kind of boring, kind of, so it's tough in some ways. It's boring in some ways. Budgets, nobody wants to raise taxes to do the big project. Who wants to raise taxes? Nobody. So you have to constantly do more and more with less and less. So there's because there's no profit like in the private sector, there just isn't a lot of extra money to do really cool, innovative things very often in local government.
So, in other words, they raise my taxes to pay for Bill Stark to come in there and leadership us?
No. We give them a rebate when they do business with us.
That's what goes. Do you work in Michigan at all?
We do. You
do?
Yeah.
Up north?
Is the next question, is there a Groupon for that? I mean,
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. So I know you I know you in a business sense, but I also know you in a biblical sense as you're a godly man. And I realized early on that you somehow weave into like the business world and into the government world God. And how do you do that without getting, I was about to say nailed to the cross, but that probably wasn't a good. How do you do that and navigate that without and succeeding in what you're doing?
Well, you can't go crazy and hold up a Bible and thump, thump, thump. You can't do that. That's kind of crazy. But I would say you can just care. You can just care about people. In our training, at the end of our training sessions, we will often say, hey, local government leaders, we see you, we know you, we love you, we care about you, we support you. Call us whenever you need help. You pick up the phone and call us. We will answer the phone and we will help you. So when we say things like that, and we mean it, by the way, actually people call us, and off the clock, and we love serving people. So we're just expressing care. Sometimes I may say, how's your family? They say, well, my uncle's in the hospital. I say, well, I'll pray for your uncle. Just little things like that they know we're people of faith, but we don't jam it down their throat. That'd be crazy. But they do know that we love them and they know that we care for them. And we're very serious about that. And hopefully it comes across in the way we conduct ourselves and honors God at the end of the day.
Yeah. And, I have to say, in that process on this bookshelf that I have here, one of the books that I have right in there is, can you see that? Divine Intersection. But look at that title, right? Look at that guy right there, Bill Stark. That whole thing. And this is a real book. Look at all, there's a lot of pages and stuff going on there. What was the inspiration for this?
Wow. That's a good question. I started writing when I was in business, traveling all over the country in my 30s. I would go to an airport, different airport every week. And I would stop at the store in the airport where you get snacks and stuff. And I would get a postcard from the city, Milwaukee, wherever I was. And I would write a postcard to my kids on the airplane. Hey, Will, I hope you're doing great today. Congratulations on your math test, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And that turned into a blog because I majored in journalism growing in college. That turned into a blog, and that turned into poetry in about 26. For some reason, I can't tell you, Dan, out of the blue, I started hearing things in rhyme. It was kind of maddening in the beginning. I thought I was going crazy. But words would start to rhyme in my head. And I finally figured out, I think this is God talking to me. Wow. So I'd be driving down the road, somebody would cut me off, and I would try to calm myself, and I would hear something in my head. And I really believe that was God whispering to me. And a lot of times I heard just one line. And I would pull off the side of the road. Ultimately, I started pulling off the side of the road, and I would write down the line because I knew it was from God. I knew it.
Wow.
And I knew that was going to be a poem. And I would go home that night and I would write a poem about anger, right? Anger in traffic, or fear around losing customers and revenue. That's a lot of people watching in sales, you got to get revenue, right? You operate in fear sometimes. And I started noticing just over time that God really wants to be a part of every part of my life, my health, my hobbies, my work, my friendships, my neighbors. And that was kind of the genesis for the book, is that these are divine intersections of really every facet of my life that God wants to be involved in, every intersection of every person of my life.
Wow. So there really was a story there.
Yeah. So I started writing down these poems, and before you know it, I had like 100 of them. And a bunch of elderly friends of mine in my hometown started texting me on Facebook. Billy, they call me Billy. Billy, you need to write a book. Now, Billy, you get those poems together and you write a book, Billy. And I just heard it so much, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to collect these poems together and write a book.
And that's interesting because so many people say that they have a book in them and they want to write a book and they do it, but you actually finished it. and you got it started and you got it done to completion. By the way, did those people buy them?
They did. Yes, they did.
They did.
I made sure.
That's right. He's always closing. That's the thing about this guy. Do you, so my challenge, I hear things in rhyme as well, but they're all like, there was a man from Nantucket type of rhymes. And so they don't work as well for this, but I have a challenge with poetry, not knowing, what it means. It gets stuck on each word. And I know some people, it's almost like a song. Well, Psalms is basically poetry and a song and that type of thing too. But you don't quite, because I do a line like here: abundant life I now live out, a heart alive, no more in drought, filled with love and more today, his fullness seen in every way.
Pretty simple.
I have like 10. I'm stuck on abundant. That's my problem. I get stuck on each word. I don't see the whole thing. So for someone who wants to read it and wants to kind of enjoy those types of things, what suggestions do you have?
Yeah, well, the
if
format, the format of each, there are 52 of these, there are 52 of these poems in here. So there's a little introductory paragraph that kind of describes the problem, like this one's called Weight and Wear, the weight and wear. And I wrote this about the weight of all my expectations I had on myself. So I think of like salespeople or business people or whatever. And we put all these expectations on ourselves. So I wrote a little paragraph about that. There's a Bible verse about it. I wrote the poem. And then after the poem, I have a number of questions. Actually, I guess right above that, if you go right above that a little bit, actually it's not on the website, but in the book, there are questions I ask. And I think it's just important, to your point, Dan, I think it's really important that we slow down. And these devotionals are best understood and best received when they're done slowly. And so I would say to anybody who wants to get a copy of the book or really read any devotional for your life, don't be afraid to go slowly. I think we miss a lot going so fast. I'm a doer, I'm a go kind of guy, and I skip right over things. I just go too fast. So I would really encourage, I love the way you pause and think about words and things. I think that's pretty awesome, actually.
I think it's because everything empties out for Dan. That's why he pauses. I don't think it's intentional.
I know.
Let's not give him that much credit, Billy.
I start every minute from zero. It's an empty space.
No, I think this is brilliant that not only are you telling everyone, like, listen, you need to hit the pause button in order to sort of, absorb this, but you are pausing in order to be able to put these together, right? Because it was like, so talk to us about that. Like, what was the mindset? I mean, obviously it's divine, right? But when someone else hears this and said, boy, I wish I could do that. I wish I could inspire others. I wish I could be open to that. I wish I could hit pause instead of scrolling and doing all of these things that we feel like we just have to do this. We have to do this. We have to do this. How do you work with someone to try to, step one on developing that mindset? Wow, that's a really good question. I'm not sure where to start. I think it starts with for me, now this has taken me a long time, decades. Sure. I have finally come to believe something very profound and very simple. And that is that God loves me. And if it's true that he loves me, then he is going to watch out for me and provide for me. And if that's true, then I don't need to do 95 things on my to-do list today. I just need to do the best I can, put forth my best effort, and trust that the outcome is in his hands. I'm in charge of inputs. He's in charge of outputs. I do my part. Don't go crazy. Don't overstrive. One of my counselors one time said, I'm an excessive striver. That was the way she described me.
And so I have this disease, right? So, but if I truly believe that God is good and that he loves me, then I can slow down and I can take an hour or two and have a lunch in the park. You know, nobody's going to die. It's going to be okay. But it's a hard mindset. Our world sort of programs us to go, 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 do,
Right.
get it all done, get it all done, get it all done. You're behind, you're behind, you're behind. And that's the voice I hear in my head. But it's the voice of this world, which is a messed up world.
Yeah. I
Very
love it.
wise.
Now, I spoke to you about this the other day, but and Chris Stone probably knows this, but I have an hour in the day, from 6 to 7, and it's Deej time, and Deej time is totally off the grid. And now it's only an hour, and I have different things that I do, whatever. But man, it's almost like when you if you work out, the rest is where your muscles grow. And so it's that same thing. If you take off that hour and just completely off, no phones, nothing. And by the way, I'm so surprised. People sleep with their phone in their bedroom. I mean, that's complete and utter insanity. I didn't even think that was possible. Like, who would do that?
Yeah.
I mean, and all these notifications and things going on.
Well, you can turn those off.
Yeah, you could also put it in the kitchen on the other side of the house. Done.
Oh,
I think
making me
it's
feel
crazy that
terrible.
people do that. But
Yeah. Thanks for
I
the
didn't
guilt trip.
I didn't even know that was possible because it's different because that alone time, I realized even as a kid, it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's necessary to be alone. I guess you're never really alone, but it's time where you could hear things and see things that you would not normally do. And it helps in all areas of life. And so when how do you share this? I mean, probably, one of your callings obviously is to help people. And, Chris asked you that question. How do you get to that point where you could start the book or have that quiet time or what have you? My thing is, when you say that you care about somebody, I feel it. I mean, like, I know that you really, for salespeople, we always say, we want you, listen, we're here to help you succeed. Our solution, I get my pleasure out of seeing your business grow or whatever it is. But you really care. How do you get somebody to really care? Like, how can I really care? Not that I'm lying, but I'm not you. I'm not at that level.
Oh, that's hilarious. I think that is one of the great questions of our day. And I'll tell you, I just have to be completely honest with you. And this, people may not agree with this or whatever. I think that have you ever seen those Jeeps before? They have two tanks. They have two tanks, that A tank, B tank. Then when the gas runs out in one tank, they switch over and the gas goes from the other tank. My tank, when it's filled up with God's love, primarily from that morning time you're talking about, being close to God in the morning in a quiet time. When I'm filled up with God and his love and I allow him to fill me up, it just oozes out, man. I don't have to do anything. It's as natural as falling off a log. But my own love, my own care, my own sense of caring for you in my humanness is pretty limited. It kind of comes and goes. It's not consistent. It's not super awesome. But because I am filled with God's love, dude, it just overflows. And it's very natural. And I'm not trying to love you. I just love you. So what's in me comes out of me. So you can only give what you got.
Yeah.
So if you got God's love in you, then you exude God's love. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that people that aren't Christians can't love. They can be sincere and they can care for other people, and that's awesome. But that's in their human flesh. That's in their humanness, and that's fine. For me, that's very limiting, and it's very inconsistent. That kind of love, that kind of caring. But when I allow God's love, which is in me, to come out, to pour out of me, it's really good love. It's a deep, caring kind of love.
And I think when you believe that, you realize you're not you're not in control, right? And I think that's a lot of what has gone into this conversation is sort of like when you do pause and you realize, you know what, there's only so much that I can do as a human right now on this earth. And when you know you're not in control of the power in your house and the internet, for example, we got a little bit of a late start because of that. And credit here to Dr. Stark. There was, I mean, he was just like, yeah, I'm on my phone. We're just going to do this. And I was like, I've talked to people that they're having a heart attack literally before they go live almost because of that. And I think when you have that belief, you realize, you know what, nobody's going to die and we're going to deliver. And, I'm not in control of this. And so I think that's important for people to realize, and that I think can help someone hit that pause button and really be open to realizing what they are in control of and what they're not.
Yeah. So Bill Stark, you talked about your son, Will. By the way, how did he do on that math test?
Oh, great. Excellent.
Okay, good.
Third grade. I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. But talk to me about family. Tell me about what's going on in your world.
Born in Mississippi, and met my wife at Ole Miss, University of Mississippi, in our
Rebels,
senior
right?
year. So 1983, we've been married 35 years. Twin daughters, 33 years old. One of the twin girls got married last weekend here in July of 2024.
Wow.
So super excited about that. And my other daughter lives in Charlotte with our grandson and her husband, Jay. And then my son, Will, he lives in Alpharetta as well. He's 29 and he's married. And so we're very blessed. Kids are doing really well. It's awesome.
No grandkids yet?
Yeah, we got one grandson.
One grandson. I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. How old is the grandson? How is it like having a grandson?
It's wonderful. I tell you, I heard a study the other day from Harvard that says the longer you spend time with your grandchildren as a quote old person, the longer you live. Lower risk of heart disease, all that stuff. And I was like, dang, I wish this kid lived closer to him. He's up in Charlotte, so. But I love being around him. He's so much fun. Just to see, him thrive and do his thing. Yeah, that's me and my daughter, Mary Catherine, running the Peachtree Road Race this year. That was a lot of fun. Well, we came in together, but it was a tough day. It was hot this July 4th. It was HOT double hockey sticks hot. So
I love this guy's these old fashioned. It's just like I just like falling off a log.
That's the one that got married. That's Ellen. So there's Ellen.
There's Ellen.
Yeah.
Look at Ellen causing trouble.
Well, you're sweet.
And there's Will. Oh, you got all the good pictures, dude.
Hey, you're the one who posted it. I'm just pulling them up.
There he is. Yeah, big Will.
Well, that's how it's good. So you've been doing your business for how long now?
Since 2012. So about 12 years we've been doing work with local governments around the country. There's my bride. Yep, in Beaufort, South Carolina, whatever they call it, near Hilton Head.
Bill, I mean this more. You've outpunted your coverage, sir.
Yeah.
Good job.
Well, as soon as he said Mississippi, you knew you had something. I knew what you looked like before I saw her.
That's right.
Look at this. Look at this comment here. If Jesus were a VP of sales, he'd look and act like the guy in the middle.
Yeah.
Rob Consoli.
Yeah, that's Jesus as a sales VP right there. Rob's Consoli.
Nice.
Awesome guy. He's a rock star.
And so you meet these guys. So I guess we could talk about, so a couple of months ago, Bill called me up and he asked me to be part of his little group that he was joining there. And I've never been a part of something like this before. And so I want to kind of publicly thank you. He has a men's group that he puts together. And surprisingly, it's like 15 or 16 people come every week. It's kind of a crazy thing, all men. And I've never been part of a men's group. It's kind of a weird thing. It's because you could be in a group of 100 men. One woman walks in, everybody acts differently. It's like there's a little thing there. And so like it's a kind of freeing experience. And so you've obviously been doing this a while and stuff. How long have you been doing groups like this? And why did you kind of start this one now in this part of your life?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. By the way, if anybody is watching or listening to this and wants to be in a men's group, a faith group, you're welcome to email me, instant message me, whatever. It's on Zoom and in person. So if you're in New York, we don't care. Come join us. So that's an open invitation. But yeah, I've been doing men's groups since about 2012 or so, somewhere up in there. So about 12 years. And I tell you, it's one of these things. We were talking about getting quiet and kind of trying to hear the nudges from God. And I just know that I know down deep in my bones that I need to be in men's lives, mainly for my own benefit. Just with you, men are, I can connect to them. You know, I can get all my junk out on the table and be authentic and be real, be transparent, and offer that transparency to other men. And of course, we study God's word. We study the Bible. We have fun. We laugh. We joke. It's a bunch of goofballs getting together, trying to do life together. And again, I think it's just kind of something that God put in me. That's I just can't not do it. I have to do it. In fact, I'll tell you a little story. I was in like 3 men's groups. I love men's groups so much. I was in 3 groups, believe it or not.
You're addicted to groups.
I'm addicted, man. And I knew I was supposed to start this group for what I call orphans, men that are just out doing life on their own. And I felt like God said to me, Bill, you've got to get out of these other groups before you start this new one. I was like, whoa, because I'm a FOMO guy, fear of missing out.
Oh yeah.
So I like to be connected. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. I like to be connected to everybody. And I really felt sincerely like God was saying, no, Bill, if you want to do this new group, you got to get out of these other groups. And I did. I got out of them, and it was freaked me out, honestly. But ultimately started this one, and it's just, I love seeing these guys and getting to connect to their hearts and to their lives and seeing what God does in their hearts. Not me. It ain't about me. It's about what God does in their hearts.
He was just trying to figure out a way to get on the show. And so that was his thing.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Hey, Deej, I wrote a book. Nobody, if you're not gonna promote it, I will. Hey, Deej, I wrote a book. Do you know anybody who has a podcast that you could do it? But listen, it's really I'm impressed the fact that you went ahead and did it. So many people want to start a book but never get it done. Was there a time while you were doing this that you were thinking to yourself, man, I just I'm done with this already, or I can't do this anymore?
It is a lot of work, and I had the 52 poems already written, so I was just compiling them and writing the little introductions and putting the Bible verses with it. It's a lot of work. It's amazing how much work it is. I can see why, so few people do it. You get down the road and you just feel like you can't continue. But thank goodness I had, like I say, the guts of the book. I had the 52 poems already written. I just needed to go back and kind of write the story that related to the poem. And that was kind of fun. I'm working on a second one right now, which I'm excited about. But yeah, it's been a great joy to do this.
So maybe that's the thing. If you want to write a book, start writing a blog. Write 50 or 100 little stories and put them together, and you got yourself a book. Yeah,
go back up there to the top just a little bit. There's one more right there, Redemption's Call. Did y'all see the movie Sound of Freedom? Sound of Freedom was about this guy that went and rescued these kids from child exploitation. I saw the movie and I wrote a poem. In the middle of the movie, I heard the first line in this poem. And that's how God speaks to me. It just came out of nowhere. I heard the first line of this poem by watching this movie, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna write a poem about this movie, Sound of Freedom. So there you go.
It's so much deeper than me. I wrote a poem. I was eating Chinese food, and I was a kid, and I still remember. You are so nice. I am your fan, just like fried rice and mugu gai pan. Like that was the first line.
At least Nantucket wasn't in it.
Yeah, that's
so.
right. So we all have our gifts.
Yeah.
That's my thing right there.
Well,
So what's next in the life of Bill Stark? What's going on? What are future plans?
Yeah. Okay. So my big challenge right now, well, it's not really a challenge. It's awesome. Is I'm trying to figure out how to retire over the next few years. I'm 63 and I thought I would work till I was 90 because I love to work.
Yeah.
Grew up working 3 jobs, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I kind of think I want to retire. I think that would be fun. So I want to write a book a year when I retire, which will be in a few years, 2 or 3 years. And I have a list of like 7 books that I want to work on. I want to write a book for my son, and I've got a kid's book I want to write. And, so I'm kind of focused on this.
It doesn't sound like retirement at all, Bill.
Well,
it does not sound like retirement, my friend.
Yeah.
If you want to retire, Bill, you can't just write the books. You got to sell them. Where does somebody get your book?
Well, great question. Glad you asked. You can go to Amazon.com, and type in Divine Intersections. There you go. There's the link. And so just type in Divine Intersections, or type in Bill Stark, and you'll see the book there. And it's pretty good. I think you get it within a few days, and it's Amazon's great. They do the shipping and they do the printing and everything, so it makes life easy. But yeah, if you want to get one, well, that would be awesome. And or if you have a church men's group, or if you have a podcast or something, and I can share some of the messages of God through these poems, I'd love to do that as well. But yeah, go to Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com. Yeah.
You have a sweet, now let's put our marketing face on. You have a sweet and sultry voice. So have you thought about reading it and having an audio book?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's a great idea.
It's like the first thing you need to do is read your audio. It's your voice with your things and the feeling, and you can ad lib while you're doing it. It's dynamite. Make an audio book to file, and you can sell it the same way. And it's a lot easier for people to listen to that on the way to work while they're in their quiet time in traffic. I'm
doing little video shorts on Instagram, 1.5-minute videos, and where I'll read like a stanza, like 4 lines of the.
Why don't you give us one? Why don't you give us one now?
Snackable.
Read a stanza now.
Yeah.
Oh, this is called the weight and wear. In other words, the weight of expectations and the pressure we put on us, and the wear, it wears us out, right? So, and this was when I was 58 years old. So you'll like this, Dan. So here I am at 58, feeling all the wear and weight of goals and plans I cannot make. Moving lines of my own fate, perfect plans I dream for me, yet without consent from thee. I wonder why at 58 my soul so often deeply aches for richer, grander, fuller days, yet I see through a foggy haze. Perhaps the reason why it's so, I see my life but not as my own, my goals, my plans, my work, my time, anchored not in thee or thine. So that's about half the poem. But basically, it's a poem about me having all these goals in life, all these plans, all these expectations, and they just get added to you like a pile of blankets. It's just insufferable. It's a heavy weight, and I was putting that on myself. So some goals are great, and we want to have aspirations, but like I say, I'm kind of an achiever nut, and it was just too much. It was too much pressure I was putting on myself to be successful. And so I wrote about it in that poem.
I learned something about myself just there, where I can't understand something as I read it. When you read it to me, it's like perfect. So I need an audiobook.
Okay.
And you need to make an audiobook.
Yeah.
And when you do your audiobook,
Dan's house and read a book so he can go to sleep at night. Can you do that? What do you charge
I've told
for
you that story. I love that. My grandmother used to read my grandfather to bed every night.
Oh,
It
seriously.
was the cutest thing. And he used to go to bed before her. So she would leave, read him a story, he'd fall asleep, and then she'd come back out.
Oh,
It was
wow. How touching.
it was, and so my wife listens to books, and so she goes, "I'll put the ears in so I don't disturb you." And she goes, "I know, just go ahead, let me hear it." And it's like it brings back my grandmother to me.
That is
I fall
great.
asleep instantly, which is it's great. But so I need you to do your audio book. But when you do your audio book, in sales, I wrote about this the other day. It's not, give, and then ask for the order. It's give, give, and have them ask you what are the next steps.
Wow.
By giving that much value. So that poem that you read half of because you felt you were bothering people and you were speeding up in certain areas. Oh yeah, this isn't following. And then you finished the whole thing. You were literally taking it away from me.
Oh yeah.
Like I wanted it. I wanted it more. And so when you read your book, it has to be not just with your breath. It needs to be with all of Bill Stark.
Yeah, that's good. Wow.
Ultimately, that's what I'm hearing. I'm not hearing the words as much as I'm hearing the emotion that comes from it. And that's the
some
same
free coaching
thing.
right there, Bill.
Free coaching. I owe you a commission on my audiobook.
That's the same thing in all of sales. What people need to do, and the reason why you're successful in the enterprise that you're talking about, the government work and all that stuff, and the way you're able to gather 17 people every other week to come to a men's group, basically, what happens in any of those groups, you realize how bad you are, and then you build yourself up. It's like, it's one of those things. The reason why you're able to do that is because of all the value that we're getting from it. And so, that's it. It really is. You say you care, but it's about giving value. And so use what you got, which is great. So I'm looking forward to the book.
Bill, I've got a question for you. So I know this is like, picking your favorite twin child. But if there is a certain poetic devotional from Divine Intersections that maybe hits a little different for you, maybe maybe somebody read it and said, "Hey, this spoke to me in this certain way," or maybe you just like, "This is just my favorite one because of this." What would one of those be from the book?
Well, I wrote about, I put this on Instagram the other day. I read a stanza from this one. I like this one called "The Lights That Blind." The Lights That Blind is on page 4 and 5. It's early in the book. And what happened was I was out jogging or taking a walk one evening, and I was on my street, and all these street lights were on, right? Bright street lights. And even though it was dark outside, I noticed I couldn't see the stars because of the light from the ambient light from the street lights. And I couldn't see God's creation because of the light noise. Y'all have heard the term light noise before. So again, I just feel like right out of that, God just gave me this kind of revelation about turning the lights off in my life, turning things down, slowing down. And so, that's actually the video right there. But so this is a poem about dimming the lights and getting into that dark, mysterious place where we can actually then see the stars in heaven, right? We can see the sky, the stars. So it just says, "The lights of earth shine ever bright. The stars above lay faint. The day is loud and raucous still, and evening yet to paint. But as I pass the last street light that glows down past the hill, I glanced above to see the stars. My sight was hazy still. With my walk now wrapped in dark, street lights mostly dim, My eyes now sense expanse above, unveiling more of him. My days seem like street lights below, so strong and brilliant still, overwhelming all my heart. My soul thus has no fill. I must push back the blinding lights, for oh, it steals my sight to wander in the dark below and sense his glorious height. Then the last stanza says, at dawn my day comes forth now lit, the world no longer still, yet in my soul a silence reigns, now love can overspill. So that's just a poem about quieting the noise, getting still, going slow, so that I can, in this story, see the stars in the sky because the light's on. It was kind of an analogy to slowing down in life. And I've had a hard time doing that because like I said, I'm kind of an achiever, and it's taken me literally 50 years to figure out how to go slow. So.
You see that? Well, listen, you don't have a bigger achiever here than Chris Stone. I mean, this guy, he's flipping around left and right, making pictures big and small and moving orders of things and bringing up your book.
I got to slow down to speed up, though. You know?
That's it.
I'm inspired to go slow. And I mean that in the best of ways. I'm serious. Like, I think especially, salespeople, especially people who are solopreneurs, people who are, in business, like you just got to realize, like, maybe you shouldn't do everything. Yeah. In fact, do a few things really well and get better at those. Yeah. Right. And I think that's, slowing down and listening and being open to those voices is a key, or to that voice in this case, is key to moving forward. So good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
So if you could leave us with one piece of wisdom, Mr. Bill Stark, of how a person can incorporate their personal journey in business without being cast aside and cast off the cliff and dashed to bits on the jagged rocks below.
Yeah, I love what you said earlier, Dan. I would start each day, if you're not a person of faith, which is fine, just be quiet, just be still. I love your Dej time that you do when you wake up in the morning. That time to just be calm, be still, get centered. Now, for a person of faith, that's normally a time of prayer, of asking God for God's protection and those sorts of things, and sharing our burdens with God. And, in my case, I know that God thinks very highly of me. He likes me. He loves me. I know that. And so because I know that, I can walk in confidence, even if I lose a big sale, which I do. I can still be grounded. I can still have confidence. I can still be joyful, even though I lost some business, because I know that God loves me and he's going to take care of me. And for me, that's it in a nutshell. If I had to summarize it, that'd probably be it.
Well, okay. Well, it sounds perfect. And it's so relevant. Just yesterday, I was talking with my son-in-law, Vincent, and he said, the weird thing about you is, the people that like you really like you. And then there's people that just don't get you, and they think you're a nut and they avoid you. And I said, yeah, that's exactly right. So, knowing that God loves you, because sometimes you lose a sale. And I ask people, I said, what was the whole thing? Sometimes they'll just say, man, I just don't like you. That was the reason. And if you think about it, the reason why you don't do business with people sometimes, and you otherwise ought to, everything's the same, this roofer or this roofer, why am I picking? Man, I just like one better than the other. And so sometimes you lose a sale because someone doesn't like you, and that can send you into a tailspin.
Oh yeah.
If you're not certain that other people do. And so I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming. I feel as if this was a counseling session for me.
Our own little small group podcast here. Dude.
That's right.
That's
Chris
great.
Stone over here, is he not the professional's professional?
He's got it. Powerful, strong.
Yeah, this is an available, by the way, for those of you who are thinking about doing a podcast, Chris Stone at castahead.net. He's available for hire. Just check it out. He's really good there. And I give him some time to work with other people as well. So that's one of the things.
Very gracious of you, Dan.
And I have to tell you, though, Bill, I started this by saying the type of person that you are and everything, but I'm thinking of the proper, adjective to describe you, and you're just a sweet man.
Wow. Thank you.
And so we should all try to, just have a little bit of that in us in our regular day. And for those of you out there who are looking to make that next sale, remember the most important part of the sale is the salesperson. Ultimately, they're thinking to themselves, how do I feel doing business with you? So it's not, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And you want to get to the point where people say, I want to do business with that company because of that person. And if that is you, you don't got to worry about selling because people will be too busy buying. You do that today, you'll make it your best day ever. Eat well, live long and prosper, and go get them today.